Do you want to balance chemical equations within 9 seconds? This video is for you. Let's see how to actually balance equations within 9 seconds. See, there are certain conditions for this. Okay, I'll talk about the conditions when I take up examples. But if you have a doubt whether it's actually possible to balance equations within 9 seconds, if you watch this video completely without skipping, for sure you will also reach a stage where you can balance any chemical equation within 9 seconds. Okay. Now, the first most important thing that you have to understand is why balancing is necessary. Now, there are two categories of students. Now, the first category may not even know how to write an equation, and the second category may be able to write the equation, but may find the numbers difficult, the balancing numbers difficult. Okay, because again, when it comes to the first category, there are possibilities that certain students mug up the equations, they try to by heart it, and somehow they'll be able to replicate it. But when it comes to the numbers, you cannot by heart so many numbers, isn't it? Okay. Now, if you tell me, sir, I will write the equation correctly, but if I'm going here and there, if I'm going wrong with the numbers, it's still okay. I'll still be able to get marks. No, you've got it wrong. Okay. You cannot get marks if the numbers aren't right. You know the meaning of balancing. Only if you take the enough amount, sufficient amount of reactants, the products will be formed. Otherwise, if you take insufficient amount of reactants, the reaction won't even start. If you take excess amount of reactants, then there will be the unused reactants coming out and disturbing the products, right? So you need to know exactly the necessary amount of reactants, which will give you the necessary amount of products. Okay, so in this video, we are going to actually talk about the most complicated equations categorized by students, which they actually find it very, very difficult to balance. Why they find it difficult, I will tell you. So this trick, okay, is going to be very, very useful if you concentrate. So we call this, we give it a name, okay? We call this as odd number balancing. We call this as odd number balancing. Now, sir, why did you use the word odd? Now, before telling you the conditions, the criteria, whatever we are talking about, before telling you any details about this trick, okay, let me directly get into the trick, because I need to first build that trust in you. I need to first build the confidence in you that you can also balance any equation within 9 seconds. So let me directly take an example, prove to you that this is possible, and then I will get into the detailed explanation. So let's take the first equation. Are you ready? Let's say I have this kind of an equation. Okay, now you can switch on your timer and you can check the minute I touch the pen on the board. So you can actually check whether it's taking 9 seconds or it is taking more than 9 seconds. Just follow the steps what I'm doing. Okay, so your timer starts now. Okay, so I put a 4 here, I put a 5 here. Yes, so it is, I put a 13 here, I put a 2 here, this becomes 8 and this becomes 10 and the equation is balanced. Yes, equation is balanced. Now, if you have doubts like, sir, you might have by hearted the numbers here, you might have just read one equation and you're trying to solve it within 9 seconds. No, I'm trying to tell you that you can also do it. Okay, so let me come to the detailed explanation. Now, if you carefully observed what I did not balance it in one go. I first wrote some number and later altered it. I intentionally kept the old number there. You saw first I wrote 4 and I then changed it to 8. I first wrote 5 and then changed it to 10. Now, what is actually happening in this? We need to understand. Okay, so let's go to the clear-cut explanation of this. Okay, now please observe. Okay, guys, the first condition to use this odd number balancing is that you need to have an individual element like this. Individual element meaning not combined with any other element. See here, this is not called as an individual element. This is called as a compound because carbon has combined with hydrogen. This is called as a compound. This is also a compound. This is also a compound, isn't it? Okay. Now, I am talking about an individual element which is not combined with any other element. So if you have this element, so criteria 1 is you should have an individual element like this. Okay. So if you have such an individual element, it is possible to use my trick here. Okay. So what you'll have to do is you will have to ignore this element for some time. Balance everything else. We are not at all talking about the traditional method of balancing. Please understand. So ignore this individual element. Try to balance all the other elements. So carbon is 4 here. So you would have seen me writing a 4 in the beginning, right? Okay. Hydrogen is 10 here. So what into 2 is 10? So we all know 5 into 2 is 10. So now carbon has got balanced, 4 carbons, 4 carbons. Hydrogen has got balanced, 5 2s are 10, and here also we have 10 hydrogens. Everything is balanced except the element that we ignored, isn't it? So now come to that element. How do you count how many oxygens are there on the RHS? Now this is the product side, isn't it? Yes? Now count the oxygens. 4 twice is 8 plus 5 once is 5. 8 plus 5 is 13. Isn't it? Yes. So what number multiplied by 2? What number multiplied by 2? So let's say x. X multiplied by 2 should give me 13. Isn't it? So if you push the 2 to the denominator, x is equal to 13 by 2. Yes. So what I do is I write 13 here. I write 13 here. The by 2, I keep it in my mind. Reason is I'm not allowed to write fractions in my equation. So 13 I write here. The by 2 I keep it in my mind. I again ignore this element, and whatever is there in my mind, I multiply everywhere else. Please understand, everywhere else, not with oxygen. Okay. So what is there in my mind? I have a 2 in my mind. So I put 2 here. Now the 4 gets removed. So I remove the 4 and I put a 2 here. Sorry, 8 here. So the 4 gets removed and I put a 8 here. Similarly, the 5 gets removed, gets multiplied with 2, and I put a 10 here. Now check it however you want, how many ever times you want, the equation has got balanced. Yes. Now you might find it little tricky in the beginning, but as you practice, when we go to the second equation, third equation, you'll get more comfortable with it. Okay. So what did I do? Once again, just to repeat once again, what did I do here? I'll show you in the second equation. Okay, concentrate here. Now what do? I found an individual element. My criteria is there, right? Okay. So as soon as I find an individual element, I ignore it. I balance everything else. I see nitrogen is already balanced. Hydrogen is 3 here, 2 here. So what is the common number which will make it same? So 3 2s are 6 and 2 3s are 6, isn't it? So as I'm trying to balance hydrogen, nitrogen got affected. So 2 nitrogens are here, multiply 2 here. So everything is balanced. 2 nitrogen, 2 nitrogen, 6 hydrogen, 6 hydrogen. Everything is balanced. So the ignored element is the only one which is not balanced. So let's check. As usual, in my product side, 2 ones is 2, 3 ones is 3. So what is the number? 5. So what multiplied by 2 will give me 5? So I can directly say 5 by 2. So I put the 5 here, by 2 in my mind. So whatever is there in my mind, I again ignore this. I remove the 2 here. I remove the 2 here and I write 4. I remove the 2 here. Again, I write 4. Yes. Again, I remove the 3 here and I put 6 because 3 multiplied by 2 is 6. The equation has got balanced. I hope you're following. Yes. We'll practice more equations so that you get comfortable with this. Okay, let's go to the next equation. Okay, let's try to do this even more faster. If you're actually following the pace of the video, I'm sure you'll be able to do this faster. So again, ignored element, carbon is 8, blindly put a 8 here. Hydrogen is 18, so what into 2 is 18? 9, right? Yes, everything is balanced except for oxygen. So start counting the oxygens on the right hand side. So 8 twos are 16, 9 ones are 9. So you have 25. So what into 2 is 25? 25 by 2. So 25 here by 2 in my mind. What do I do with the by 2? I multiply everywhere else. So 2 here, 8 gets removed, 8 gets removed, and I write 16. 9 gets removed, and I write 18. The equation has got balanced. Now let me tell you why these equations are actually difficult for the students to balance. If you have actually concentrated in what I told you, all the equations we are coming across a big odd number. In the first equation we came across 13. In the second equation we came across 5. In this equation we are coming across 25. These odd numbers being present in the equation are the ones which is making it difficult for you to balance by the traditional old methods. Are you following? Go to the next example. Let's take an example like this. Okay. Now, the regular procedure only. Ignore this oxygen. Okay, ignore the individual element. Fe is 2 here, so I put a 2 here. It got balanced. Sulfur, 2 into 2 is 4, so I put a 4 here. Sulfur also got balanced. Now everything looks balanced. The only thing is oxygen which has to get balanced. So on the RHS, 3 plus, how many oxygens are there? 3 plus 4 twos are 8. So totally 11 oxygens. Correct? So what into 2 is 11? What into 2 is 11? 11 by 2. So I put a 11 here, by 2 in my mind. Yes. So again, I ignore this element. What do I do with the by 2? Multiply everywhere else. So what do? I remove the 2 from here and I put 4. This is 1 here, so multiplied by 2 becomes 2. I remove the 4 from there and I put 8. 4 twos are 8. Yes, the equation has got balanced. As simple as that. Now, let's talk about the other way around also. Now, sir, in such equations, now if you are an ICSE student and if you belong to 10th standard, now this is considered as one of the most difficult equations to balance, right? So, if you ask me, sir, is it possible to use the trick in this kind of a question? Such a big equation is there, so many compounds are there. So is it possible to use this odd number balancing trick in this kind of an equation? Let's see whether it's possible. Okay, let's do it together. Okay, now, is there an individual element in this entire equation? Yes, it is on the right hand side. I never ever told you that the individual element has to only be present on the LHS. I never mentioned that, right? Yes. So the individual element is on the right hand side. So let's keep this, okay, and balance everything else, which means I'm ignoring chlorine for some time and balancing everything else. I see potassium is already balanced. I see manganese is already balanced, right? So oxygen is 4 here. So I put a 4 here so that oxygen gets balanced, but hydrogen got affected. 4 twos are 8. So I put a 8 here. Everything has got balanced. Potassium is balanced, manganese is balanced, oxygen is balanced, and hydrogen is balanced. The only thing which is not balanced is chlorine. Yes. Now, where is chlorine present? Chlorine is present on the right hand side. So you go to the opposite side and check how many chlorines are there. So on my LHS, there are 8 chlorines totally. But do I want all the 8 chlorines only from this corner? No. Out of 8 chlorines, 1 and 2, totally 3 chlorines are already available to me. Totally 3 chlorines are already available to me. So out of 8, how many more? Out of 8, 3 are available. So how many more are required? So I require 5 more chlorines from that corner. So what into 2 gives me 5? So as usual, it's 5 by 2. So 5 here, by 2 in my mind. What do I do with the by 2? I cover this and multiply all the other compounds with the 2 that is there in my mind. So I remove the 4 from here and I write 8. So this is 2 here, this is 2 here. I remove the 8 from here and I write 16 and this is 2. The equation is balanced. I don't even have to check it. You check it how many ever times you want. The equation is actually balanced, right? So this trick is very, very helpful when you come across equations with this kind of odd numbers. Now, if you balance this, if you actually try to sincerely practice this at home, I am sure you will also be able to balance it within 9 seconds. And I'll see you soon in another video.